Well, to be perfectly honest, it was the vision of our superintendent. He had been exposed to some of these ideas throughout his travels. And so when he came to this district, he said, I want this for Asbury Park High School. And what came with the academies was a newly appointed principal. He felt like I could really, execute the program. So he came to me, he asked me, at the time I was an elementary principal, and he asked me if I would, how would I feel about going to the high school. And after, I got up off the floor, um, here I am, almost at the end of my first year as a high school principal. And, one of my charges was to make sure this program was implemented properly. The program is in conjunction, it's a partnership with Brookdale Community College.
The way that it's set up, the Dream Academy goes to Brookdale before they actually even come to the high school, and they take classes at Brookdale. We do some college test prep type activities. They go on trips, weekly trips. We do like study habits or study skills, and we also actually did a book study last summer, the 7 Habits of the Highly Effective Teen. I have to say the summer was vital. We were kicking that around for this summer, and what we're actually adding this summer is trying to add like a retreat so that we can focus more on making sure that the group is really cohesive before they come to the high school. Because when they were together last summer, they were amazing and they kind of supported each other. But then once they got to the high school and they were amongst the other students, and of course they're going to have their other friends, but we want them to realize that they're on a different track than their friends are, and it's a little more rigorous than what their friends would be used to. So the Brookdale time is important. Like, we're absolutely doing that again this summer. The students bonded over the summer, and then in September we had some additional spots, so we added like 5 more students, and then the dynamic changed a little. So what we've really been working on is we have their 4th block. They have yoga, but we also have incorporated like some mindfulness and some character education classes, because they really need to work on like those social and emotional competencies, because that's just as important as the academics. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned this year. It's really important for them to be mentally ready as much as academically ready.
I would say the first thing that surprised me was the student readiness. I sort of was under the impression, they're young, they're just coming from 8th grade, they're entering. I'm more of the motherly, type, so I'm always concerned about whether or not the kids are going to be okay. So coming from 8th grade and going into high school, that's just a rough time for anybody. I remember what it was like for me. It's very scary. You're coming into high school, so to come into high school and be taking college courses, it's just a lot. So that was my concern, but the kids were totally on board. And a large part of that has to do with the summer program, because they got their feet wet, and they were isolated, which was perfect, because they were on Brookdale's campus, and, they had courses every day, and they were traveling around the campus. So they really got to see, what college life is like, minus all of the students that would be there typically in the fall.
They were like VIPs on the Brookdale campus. Yeah. It was really empowering for the kids.
And what happens is they come in freshman year, they have their high school courses that of course they need to graduate to get a high school diploma, and then they are slowly but surely taking college courses.
So their first year here, they took 2 college classes. The first semester they took a computer class, Comp 129, and then this past semester they took Mandarin.
Why Mandarin is because it's out of the box, and not something that inner city disadvantaged students would typically be exposed to. And for us, the big thing is exposure, because I know for me as an inner city youth growing up, exposure it opened my eyes to so many things outside of my community, and it let me know that I really could do more and be more than what I saw, around me. So, the big deal about this program is exposure, just exposing them to, as many options as possible so they realize, I really can do or be anything.
They have honors classes, and their classes are condensed into, so this year they've done English 1 and English 2. And then next year they'll do English 3 and English 4, so that by their junior year they'll spend all of their time just on the Brookdale campus, the Wall campus, which we just got to go visit a couple of weeks ago. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Like, they're going to be the inaugural class going into the new campus. It's really a nice campus.
By the time they get to their senior year of high school, they actually should have enough credits, college credits, which is 60, to receive an associate's degree.
My biggest thing was, were they going to be ready to handle it? And I think for them, they surprised themselves, because what they learned is that even though there's some bobbles along the way, they absolutely can handle college level work. That, I think, is the most surprising thing for them, because a lot of them were worried about, like, am I going to be able to keep up? And it's not easy, and it's been a struggle for a few of them. But the great thing about this program here is that we have provided every imaginable support. Like the superintendent made it clear, like, they have extra tutoring sessions, and Brookdale comes here for this year. For their first year, their classes are here in the high school.
I think a lot of times adults, we overcompensate for our kids. They're ready, more ready than we think. Something else that came new, along with me and Dream Academy, are our, we have engineering academy, we have law and public safety, and we have allied health. So now we have those options for students to come in, and they can choose that track to pursue. Initially, we didn't think to include that along with Dream Academy. What we're doing now is saying, okay, well, how can we allow Dream Academy students to also, if they're interested in engineering, take an engineering course, or allied health, or law and public safety. So that's what we're doing now, thinking of how we can create their schedules so that they can do both. Yeah, because we want to, we want to, while we're offering opportunities, we don't want to take away opportunities at the same time and say, well, you're doing this, so you can't do this. So we're trying to find ways that they can do both. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, many of the Dream Academy, off the top of my head, I know we have, some are cheerleaders, we have one that's just left literally the track, got on the bus. The track team just got on the bus, she runs track. We have one that plays basketball, girls basketball. So they absolutely, that was interesting to watch how they would come to high school, and if they would just get involved, with the high school culture, and they have. That actually was one of my biggest fear, again, being a mother, the motherly figure. I wanted them to, I liked them being, sort of over there at Brookdale. And then once they came here, I sort of wanted them to stay isolated to a certain degree. But of course, they came to high school and they had friends, and, they really got acclimated. So for the most part, they're fine. They're fine. And again, that was my surprise, how well they adjusted to everything. See, I guess for me, it was important that they be able to be normal high school kids, and even though they really aren't normal high school kids because they're taking college courses, you still don't want to, rob them of that high school experience that, really is overrated, but nonetheless, still necessary for their development.
We interview the kids, we interview the parents. We have an open house type session where the parents get to come here and, talk to some of the current Dream Academy kids and get to see the Dream Academy space. And we just talk about, the things that we've learned from the first cohort, the trial and error. first I need to say that they're absolutely more involved. It wasn't even an issue of having an expectation, because before we chose the cohort, the very first interview that we have in order for the kids to be accepted in the program is with the parents. So the parents are right there every step of the way, really supportive. We have parent meetings with the parents and the students just to talk about, like, you know, their progress or interim. Actually, the last session is coming up where we sit with the parents and talk about how their students are doing in the program. So there's definitely parental involvement. The parents understand that this is like an opportunity. As a matter of fact, we just had interviews the other day at the middle school, and parents started crying in the interview because they understood that this was like a college degree for free. And especially some of our parents who are immigrants, because of the law that they can't get financial aid, because, you know, the Asbury Park School District pays for their associate's degree. Some of them feel like this is their only opportunity to have college as a part of their future. So we're offering something pretty amazing to our students. Well, if you get the opportunity to have it in your school district, you absolutely should do it. We do have a dual enrollment program, and we also have the College Promise program. So we have multiple opportunities for our students to get college credits. But the Dream Academy by far is the best, because they're going to actually graduate with associate's degree before they get their high school diploma, which is pretty amazing. And I know that actually there's like 9 or 10 other schools that are following and are implementing it over the next couple of years. So it almost seems like it is the next thing that's going to happen, that a lot of schools in Monmouth County are actually following our model, which is pretty nice for a change, for people to follow Asbury Park's model.
I'm here literally because of things I was exposed to. I lived in the projects. I had someone in my life, my godmother, who it was a priority for her to expose me to things that I wouldn't normally be exposed to. You know, as a 12-year-old living in the projects, I was able to come back and say to my friends, like, I saw Times Square, and I, you know, had dinner at a Chinese restaurant, and I had to take my shoes off, and we sat on the floor and ate, and, you know, all these things. So it just opened my eyes literally to the world, you know, and the more I was exposed, the smaller my community became. And it got so small that I felt smothered, and I knew I couldn't be there anymore. You know, so hopefully that's what Dream Academy will do, you know, for our students. I wanted to expand their worldview so that they understand that they are capable of doing and being whatever it is they want to.